What's good, ladies and gentlemen? M Hunter Era back again with another video. And in today's video, we are going to be talking about the latest college football playoff uh, rankings, the bracket, and championship weekend. Uh, this is for week 15, which it's not the end of the season because there's still one more regular season game to be played, which is kind of weird when I explain it later on, but it's still a game that needs to get played. But we do have championship Saturday this weekend, and I believe there's a game on Friday. We're going to dive into those. So as we look at the top 25 rankings, right? There's some things that just don't make sense, but some things that it is what it is. A lot of debating on, like, there's a lot of teams in here that have 3 losses, um, and a lot of people don't like that, and it makes sense. Like I wouldn't like it either. Like Alabama has 3 losses, Ole Miss has 3 losses, and South Carolina has 3 losses. But if you look, they have Alabama over Miami right now. And if we look at the what well the main thing that we really need to look at is the bracket projections going on. So, like I said, Miami is not in it. They have Alabama over them. They have a 9-3 Alabama team over a 10-2 Miami team. And when you look at it, it's like, why? Like, why do they have them above them? Like, it don't make sense. Like, why? Like, they're trying to force feed, they're trying to force feed Alabama into the playoffs. And but when you really look at it, you kind of see that Miami, yes, they're 10-2. Yes, they lost their games kind of near the middle and the end of the season. Obviously, their latest loss was at the end of the season. Um, and then Alabama, most of their losses were middle of the season, but also the strength of schedule. And Miami, sorry, a little sick, but Miami has not played a team in the top 25, like, at the current time that they were playing the team. None of the teams they played were ranked. Not one team that they played all season at the time that they played them, none of them were ranked in the top 25 of any poll. BCS, CFP, AP, not ranked in any of them. And that makes sense. I mean, your schedule's weak. You're expected to win it all. You have arguably the best quarterback in the nation. Of course, a lot of people are going to say Shador is the best quarterback in the nation, but you arguably have the best quarterback in the nation in one of the top conferences in the nation, and y'all struggle the whole season. Like, a lot of their games, maybe all of, well, not all of the games, but a lot of their games, maybe 6-7 games that they played, they struggled. We're talking about they had to come back against California. They had a close game against Virginia Tech. They had to come back against Louisville. Um, Georgia Tech game. Um, they were up 21 points on Syracuse and blew that. Um, they just Florida gave them a little bit of a tough game at first, and then Miami started pulling away. But you have Alabama. Oh, they lost to Vanderbilt. They were up 30-7 on Georgia, and then blew that lead. Like Alabama doesn't look like Alabama. But you all, I don't know. Like I really think they're force feeding them into the playoffs, but it's like Alabama is must see TV in my eyes. But you also get smacked by Oklahoma, who is like 2-6 in the conference. And I think I saw they were giving up 17 points per game, or they were getting beat by a margin of 17 points per game in conference play. You get beat by Tennessee, a game which you should have won. Well, really, all of their losses they should have won. Besides Oklahoma, like I don't know what they were doing when they were out there in Oklahoma, but that wasn't Alabama football. But it is what it is, and ain't much more to say about that one. So we have, if we look at the rest of the projections, you got Arizona State, who is projected to win the Big 12, right? I think that that might be a good, you know, they might give a little bit of bump to somebody. I don't know if the bump will be to Penn State, but also, who's to say that they play Penn State? Penn State might pull off the upset against Oregon, and then that loss to Oregon's loss to Penn State will put them in 5th place. And so Tennessee and Ohio State, they obviously do not play. There's only a couple teams still left. So all the teams that are shown in the quarterfinals, they obviously play on Championship Saturday. Arizona State, Penn State, they play on Championship Saturday. Notre Dame, of course, does not, because they are so stubborn and don't want to join a conference. So really, with them, they have to win out games. They have to be ranked in the top 8 at least to make playoffs for the future, unless they expand it again. Indiana is not in the game because it's between Penn State and Oregon, but they should be in the playoffs regardless. They have one loss. The one loss comes to Ohio State. Now, Ohio State does have a loss against Oregon due to their quarterback making a dumb decision. And they have another loss. Is it a bad loss due to the team's record? Yes. But it's a rivalry game. So you got to put that also into perspective. It's a rivalry game. So, of course, teams are going to, play harder in a rivalry week. In Michigan, but Michigan was missing Will Johnson. Michigan was missing Loveland. So it's like you're missing your best player on offense. You're missing your best player on defense, who is also arguably the best corner in the nation. and you're missing them, and you still happen to win going to Ohio State with a quarterback who doesn't really look like a good quarterback. Like you got to be honest. Like the whole offense, they struggled. They've been through three quarterbacks that season. Um, Edwards is struggling. He wasn't like the Edwards that we seen in the playoffs. He wasn't that Edwards that we seen. And Mullins, he's he's doing his thing, but he didn't look like, you know, like the guy as well. But it is what it is. They came up with the win. Um so Georgia, I kind of question if they should be in it. Well, I question if they should be in it if they lose to Texas. If they lose to Texas, they will have three losses. And they can make an argument that they should be in it because, they beat all these teams, they fought hard, they're 10-3, they beat Texas before, but they also lost to Alabama. So that would move Alabama up. Maybe in place of Tennessee or Ohio State and put them in the Oregon bracket. I don't know. But I really don't think three lost teams should be in there. Cuz Army, so Army is 11-1, right? Right now, but they're ranked 24th in the nation. They have a championship game coming up on um on Friday against Tulane. I'm sorry, Army is 10-1. They have a championship game against Tulane. And then next week they have a game against Navy to finish off the season. So that's two chances to get themselves in the college football playoffs by playing some great football. And I'm talking about they need to like blow these teams out in order to make the playoffs. That's what's got to happen. But obviously they can't make, so you're allowed uh one team out of the group of five to make the playoffs. So what would need to happen is they would need to blow out those two teams. They would need to blow out Tulane and they would need to blow out Navy, right? And they would also need UNLV, who is ranked 20th in the nation right now, to beat Boise State. And Boise State beat UNLV last time they played. So it's kind of like, I don't know. You got Ashton Genty, doing his thing, chasing a record and whatnot. So they're gonna be force feeding them and wanting to get the win and get the home field advantage with a first round bye. Now they don't get to play on their bluegrass, but you still get the first round bye. Um, so I think with a loss, Boise State is probably out of there due to the strength of schedule, even though their loss would be against a ranked 20th team and a ranked 7th Oregon at the time. Oregon was ranked 7th in the nation, who is now number 1 in the nation. And if Oregon goes on to win their conference, then it's kind of questioning, like, does Boise State stay in there? And if they do stay in there, who gets kicked out? That is the question. So we got Iowa State versus Arizona State. And in that game, I don't think they played each other. Let me be sure. Uh, they did not play each other this season. So this is going to be a good matchup. This is Arizona State's first season in the Big 12. Obviously, coming from the Pac 12. A lot of, Oregon came from the Pac 12. Texas came from the Big 12. This is their first time in the SEC with a chance to win it. Um, who else? SMU. I believe they came from the Atlantic Conference, and now they're in the ACC. There's talks about if SMU loses to Clemson, obviously Clemson would get in, but does a two-loss SMU team stay in? And honestly, they do have a loss against I forgot who they played. It was like super early in the season. Let me see. They lost to a Nevada team by or no, not to Nevada. Sorry, they lost to BYU by 3 points. BYU in the season at one point was ranked sixth in the nation, so they're no slouch. Um, but their BYU currently is ranked 18th. I kind of, they go on. They beat TCU by 24. They run through. Well, everybody ran through Florida State. They beat a 22 ranked Louisville team. They run through Stanford. They beat Duke in overtime. They beat an 18th ranked Pitt. They beat Boston College. And I mean, the rest of the season is against little iffy teams. But if they beat Clemson, of course they're going to be in. But if Clemson beats them, does SMU stand, and who leaves out is the question. Because, like I said, a lot of these teams they're not playing this week. So who leaves? I think Alabama leaves. If SMU loses, I think Alabama leaves. Because if Arizona State wins, you have to keep them in because they are of a group or Power Four conference. So you have to keep them in. But Alabama is really depending on Clemson to win. They're depending on they're also depending on sorry. Alabama wants SMU to win, so Clemson doesn't mess things up. Alabama also needs Boise State to win, so they don't mess things up and have UNLV in the well, yeah, well, like I said, the whole Army thing. So is going to be a whole mix up. Honestly, I think the bracket is going to stay where it's at. Like, I don't really think there's going to be any major like the only game that I can see being messed up or whatever is going to be the SMU game against Clemson. That's the only game that I can see that will mess everything up. Besides that, if Texas loses to Georgia, you just flip flop them, or you just move Penn State down one. And if Texas wins, then I don't know, man. Do you flip flop Alabama and Georgia, or do you kick Georgia out, move Alabama up, and put Miami in? I don't know. I'm glad I'm not on the committee because that is difficult decisions right there to make, and I don't think I can make that difficult decision. But what I do know is, uh, since my team Virginia Tech ain't in it because we are garbage, I'm going to be rooting for the Ducks, obviously, and but I don't know. Somehow, some way, I feel like Alabama is going to sneak their way in it. But, anyways, if you like the video, like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll be making more discussion videos. Uh, Go ahead, comment, let me know what y'all think, and I'll see y'all on the next one. I'm out.